Hello everyone, and welcome to day 8 of your 40-day challenge. Congratulations, you've made it past the first week. Hope that you're doing well, and this is the lovely Caroline who's going to lead you through. She'll show you some modifications along the way as I cue her, but do your best to listen to your body and honor that whatever it's saying, and take a modification, whatever you need. So we'll start with some grounding for 5 minutes. Caroline's been here for about 5 minutes doing that, so we'll let you have that time to yourself. And when you're ready, we'll find our way to the top of our mat standing to come into our Tadasana. Your feet can either be hip distance apart or touching, depending on your practice. But make sure that the ground is completely and equally balanced throughout the entire foot. Your arms are down by your side and your palms are facing forward. Your tailbone is tucked and your shoulders are away from your ears. Take a deep breath in to settle into your mountain pose. As you exhale, ground your feet a little bit more. Inhale to rise the hands over the head. And as you exhale, hinge from the hips. Bring your hands down to the floor for your forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift, placing your hands on the shins, the thighs, and then place your hands on the floor and exhale to step back into your plank pose. Inhale to settle here, and as you exhale, tuck the shoulders and elbows into the body and lower all the way down through your chaturanga. Untuck the toes when you arrive here, and inhale for a cobra, keeping the elbows in the side body. Exhale, go back into your downward facing dog. 5 breaths here. Every breath is a movement. So as you inhale, give length in your spine, and pressing those thighs to the back rim will help lift the tailbone. With the exhales, try to lower the heels into the floor a little bit more. You can bend the knees as much as you need to lift the tailbone up into the sky. Shoulders are away from the ears. Arms are internally rotated, and the elbows are slightly bent if you have an hyperextension. On your next inhale, bend the knees and take your gaze to the front of the mat, and as you exhale, walk or float to the front at a forward fold. Right away, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, hands up all the way over the head. And exhale to Samasthiti. Find your mountain pose again. At any time, you'd like to take some time to close your eyes and feel the movement inside your body after doing your sun salutations. It's a really good idea. Inhale the hands back up over the head. And exhale, hinge from the hips to fold forward. Place the hands on the shins or the thighs to halfway lift on the inhale. Plant the hands on the floor and step back to your plank. On the next exhale, tuck the elbows into the side body and lower all the way down. Inhale for a cobra with your untucked toes, and exhale for a downward facing dog again. You can pedal your feet out here, getting a little looser. This might be one of your first downward dogs of the day. This might be the last practice of your day if you decided to do it later in the day at home. But whatever you need to do here, move in your downward dog. This isn't a still position. Every inhale brings length in the spine. Every exhale grounds you deeper into this position. On your next inhale, bend the knees, take your gaze to the front of the mat, and step, walk, or float to your hands at a forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift, and exhale, fold forward. Inhale, hands all the way up, and exhale, bring your hands back to heart center, and then back to Tadasana, pressing the palms forward, feet grounded equally, tailbone tucked, and shoulders away from the ears. Inhale, hands back up over the head. Exhale, hinge forward for your forward fold. Hands on the shins or the thighs for a halfway lift on the inhale. And exhale, plant the hands, step back to your plank pose. On your next exhale, lower halfway or all the way, keeping the elbows tucked into the body. Inhale for upward dog or cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. 5 breaths, 5 different movements, lengthening and grounding. Make sure that the hand is gripping the ground equally. Your fingertips might be even white from gripping the ground so much. Inhale, bend the knees, take your gaze to the front of your mat, and walk, step, or float to your hands at a forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift, and exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come all the way up, hands touching at the top, and exhale, bring the hands to heart center. Beautiful, just finished your first sun salutation A's. Next, inhale, raise the hands over the head and bend the knees to come into your first Utkatasana awkward pose. Make sure that your knees aren't pushed over your toes, so when you look down at your knees, you should be able to see your beautiful painted toes. Caroline has nice green toes today. Exhale, fold forward from the hips, straightening the knees. Inhale for a halfway lift, place the hands on the shins or the thighs. Exhale, plant the hands, step walker, float through your Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale for a cobra or upward dog, and exhale, downward facing dog. Right away, lift the right leg into the sky on the inhale, and as you exhale, place it at the front of your mat between your hands. Drop the back knee right away, and inhale for your crescent lunge. In crescent lunge, your front knee can push over your ankle. It's not about the alignment, so feel free to push as much as you need to feel a nice stretch in the thighs. You can even give a nice back bend, lift the chest up, let the arms draw back behind the ears. One more inhale to lengthen the hands up, and exhale, dive forward. Let the front foot meet the back into your plank, and follow through the Chaturanga. Inhale for an upward dog, and exhale, downward dog. Right away, lift the left leg on the inhale and place it between the hands as you exhale. Drop the back knee and inhale for your crescent lunge. Push the knee over the ankle as much as you need to feel a nice stretch in the hips and the thighs. Shoulders are down and away from the ears. And you can give as much as a back bend as you need to, as much as you're not pressing the hips forward. The bend is coming from the T12 always. One more inhale to lengthen, and exhale, plant the hands at the front of the mat, step the front foot back and meet through your Chaturanga Dandasana, upward facing dog or cobra, and exhale, downward facing dog for 5 breaths. This is a nice inversion. If you are working on your handstands or your donkey kicks, this is a great place to start and work on your hands and your arm strength. Every inhale brings length in between the spine, up towards the neck, down towards the tailbone. Lengthen the tailbone to the ceiling and press the thighs to the back room. Bend the knees as much as you need to bring that tailbone up a little bit more. Inhale, bend the knees, take the gaze to the front of the mat, and step, walk, or float to a forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift, and exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come up and sit back into your awkward Utkatasana chair pose. The tailbone is tucked here. There's no real back bend in a chair pose. The reason why it feels so awkward because the tailbone is being tucked in a way that's not very natural. Reason why it's called an awkward pose. Inhale, straighten the legs, come on up. Thank you, Caroline. And exhale, the hands down to Samastiti. Find your mountain pose again. If you find that you've given a little less attention to your feet, give a little bit more to that. It's the most important part of this posture. The ground is equally distributed underneath those feet. Inhale, lift the hands and sit back into your lovely awkward chair. Your chair doesn't need to be an intense chair. It doesn't have to be a squatter. It could be a bar stool. It depends on your edge. Come to your edge and find it and sit there. Find the comfortable place. It's not about what it looks like, it's how you feel in a pose. And exhale, fold forward. Place the hands on the ground. Inhale for a halfway lift. And exhale, fold forward, plant the hands, step back to your plank pose. On your next exhale, lower halfway or all the way down. Inhale for an upward dog or cobra. And exhale for downward facing dog. Right away, lift the right leg into the sky, keep the hips squared to the mat. Exhale, place it at the front, in between the hands, and drop the back knee. Oh no, sorry, that's a lie. Keep the knee up. Inhale, hands up over the head. If you'd like to, before you come into high lunge, you can put your knee down, come up through a low lunge, and then lift the back knee. That's totally okay too. Exhale, bring the hands down to Samasthiti, heart center. And as you inhale, lengthen the crown forward, and exhale to twist and hook the elbow on your front knee. Stack the elbows to the best of your ability to push your shoulders back, twist the torso. But to the best of your ability, keep your hips squared to the front of your mat. One more inhale to lengthen the spine towards the front of the room, and exhale to twist a little deeper. Inhale, lift the hands up over the head. Exhale, plant them at the front, on either side of the hand. Step back. Follow through your Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale for an upward dog or cobra. And exhale for downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the left leg above the head, squared hips. Exhale, plant it at the front of the mat. Option to drop the knee here before you inhale for a low lunge. And then when you're here, you can inhale and come up to a high lunge, lifting the back knee. The front knee is stacked right over to the ankle. And to the best of your abilities, try to get your back heel stacked over the toes. Press the back thigh up to the ceiling and bring the hands to heart center. Inhale to lengthen the spine and the crown forward. And as you exhale, twist towards your front leg, hooking the elbow on the thigh. Engage both thighs to maintain stability. If you fall, allow yourself to fall and just come back. Working towards getting the front thigh parallel to the floor is your final goal, but if you don't get there today, that's okay. Inhale to lengthen the spine one more time, and exhale, twist a little deeper for your last little hoorah. Inhale the hands up over the head. Plant them on the ground as you exhale and step back to your Phalakasana. Exhale to come down through your Chaturanga. Inhale for Cobra or Upward Dog. And exhale for Downward Facing Dog. Stay here for 5 breaths. If at any time you'd like to take a child's pose, please do. You can have your knees together or wider apart, depending on what you'd like to receive from this posture. Lengthen the spine to the ceiling as you inhale, lift the tailbone. And as you exhale, you can try and push those heels into the floor. The knees will straighten, but you can keep the knees bent as much as you need to. It helps to push the tailbone up into the sky with bent knees. Inhale, bend the knees, take a gaze to the front of the mat, and exhale, step, walk, or float to your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise up and sit back down into your awkward chair pose. Michael likes to say that Utkatasana makes nice bums. So maybe that'll be motivation to sit in your Utkatasana for longer. Inhale to rise, standing, hands above the head. And exhale, bring your hands back to Samasthiti. Beautiful. Find your mountain pose, your Tadasana. Allow yourself to feel the warm-up you've given yourself. Press your hands forward, shoulders down and away from the ears, tailbone tucked. Inhale, hands over the head, and as you exhale, sit back into your Utkatasana. Inhale to lengthen the spine in your Utkatasana, and from hinging from the hips, bend forward on your exhale. Plant the hands. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands. Step, walk, or float to the back of your mat. If you're floating, try and float back to your chaturanga with bent arms versus straight arms to help protect the elbows and the shoulders. Inhale for a cobra, and exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the right leg into the sky, and as you exhale, plant at the front of your mat. Take the back foot up to a 45-degree angle. Press through the back edge of the foot, and as you inhale, rise up to your warrior one. To the best of your ability, square the hips to the front of your mat by pressing the right hip back and the left hip forward. You might need to rearrange your stance to be a bit shorter so that your hips can be squared. Otherwise, keep the front knee stacked over the ankle and press the weight into the back foot, the back blade of the foot. Shoulders are down and away from the back, and you're staying here for 5 breaths. Remember, every breath is a movement, so you're not just sitting in this warrior one, you're moving, you're feeling every single inch of this posture. Both legs are engaged, internally rotating onto each other. Hips are squared to the best of your abilities. And the chest is being lifted on every inhale. Last inhale to lengthen the fingers more to the ceiling. And exhale, hinge forward, plant the hands at the front of the mat. Step the front foot back and follow through your chaturanga. Inward, up. Inhale, upward dog or cobra, and exhale to downward facing dog. Lift the left leg on your inhale and plant it at the front of your mat as you exhale. Drop the back foot to a 45-degree angle. Inhale to rise up and settle into your warrior one with your front knee stacked over the ankle to the best of your ability. The thighs are engaged, the back thigh is being pressed to the ceiling, and the hips are squared to the front of the mat. Press the left leg, the left hip back, and the right hip forward. If at any time you'd like to take your hands to your hips just to physically feel that your hips are squared, please do. 5 breaths in total here. Weight is big pressed back to the back foot. Inhale to lengthen the spine one more time. And exhale, fold forward, plant the hands, step your front foot back, and follow through your Chaturanga Dandasana with the elbows tucked into the side body. Inhale for Cobra or Upward Dog, and exhale to Downward Facing Dog or Child's Pose, whichever serves you this morning. Please honor it. It's all good. You can move as much as you need to here. You can pedal your feet out. You can come into Phalakasana and push back into Downward Dog to make sure your alignment is good. Just don't get stuck here. Allow yourself to feel any sensations in your body, positive or negative. Don't attach yourself to why you're feeling that way, because you're going to move. So move into it, move away from it, whatever you want to do. Inhale, bend the knees. Take your gaze to the front of your mat. And on your exhale, step, walk, or float to a forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale, rise up and sit back into your last Utkatasana chair pose of this practice today. So let's make it the strongest Utkatasana chair pose. Make sure that your knees aren't being pressed over the over the toes, sorry. So you can still see your toes when you look down. Your tailbone is tucked. There's no back bend happening in this position. So if you need to lean forward a little bit more to keep your back somewhat straight, maybe that's okay. It also may help not to bend the knees as much. And the lovely Caroline has come into a modification. If you'd like to go a little more, increasing the intensity here, you can come up onto your tippy toes. You can lower down even more. And on your next inhale, let the knees straighten and come up. Little back bend to give a little bit of release on the back, and exhale to Samasthiti. Beautiful. Find Tadasana again. How are we feeling today? Everyone feeling okay? Good. Thumbs up. It's awesome. Inhale the hands up over the head. And exhale, fold forward. Plant the hands on your shins or your thighs as you inhale for a halfway lift. And plant the hands on the floor and exhale to follow through your Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale for a Cobra or Up Dog, and exhale to Downward Facing Dog. Inhale your right leg over the head, and exhale, plant it at the front of your mat. Right away, drop the back foot to a 45-degree angle, and inhale to come up to your Warrior One. Square the hips to the front of your mat. Have your knee stacked over your front ankle, and the weight is being pressed into the back foot. On your next exhale, bend the left elbow and then grab the left elbow with your right hand. This is a nice shoulder stretch. We'll be here for 5 breaths. So allow your chest to open. Give a little bit of a back bend here. Feel the stretch down the side body and the shoulder. You might even feel it in the tricep. But don't lose the grounding in your feet and the foundation in your legs. Your knee is still stacked over your ankle, the front foot, and your back thigh is still being pressed to the front, to the ceiling. Inhale, lift the hands over the head, and as you exhale, fold forward halfway. Lengthen the fingers towards the front of the room. Inhale to rise. Exhale, fold forward halfway, reaching forward. Inhale, lengthen the spine and the head up. And exhale to bow the crown forward halfway. So plant the hands on the ground and lift the back leg to come up to a standing split. Keep the hips squared to the floor to the best of your ability. And then drop the back foot to the back of the mat there. Yeah. You're going to come into a standing side split. So straighten the front leg and drop the back knee onto the ground. Come up onto the heel of your front foot and straighten the front leg. And until you feel stretch, start moving until you feel stretch in the front thigh. You can lower all the way, or you can keep yourself here. Great. Now, plant the hands at the front of the mat and bring your front foot to the back. Come back into your plank pose. Lower through Chaturanga Dandasana on the exhale. Inhale for a Cobra or Upward Dog, and exhale for Downward Facing Dog. Inhale, lift the left leg into the sky on your inhale. Exhale, plant it at the front of the mat, and drop the back foot at a 45-degree angle. Inhale to rise to Warrior One and fix your foundation by squaring the hips. Keep the front knee over the front ankle. Press the weight into the back blade of the foot, of the back foot. And inhale the hands up over the head. Bend the right elbow this time behind your head. Grab it with your left elbow. And you're here for 5 breaths. Press the chest up and forward to give a nice stretch in the chest as well as the shoulders and the triceps. 5 breaths in total here, so those can be your 5 breaths. Your 5 breaths are not necessarily Caroline's 5 breaths, so I'm going to assume she's done. So inhale, lift the hands over the head. Exhale, fold forward halfway. Lengthen the fingers towards the back of the front of the room. Inhale to stand, lengthen the fingers to the ceiling. Exhale, fold forward halfway for a second time. Inhale, lift up, and exhale, last halfway forward fold. Inhale, lengthen the fingers to the ceiling. And exhale, plant the hands, the front of the mat. Lift the back leg as you inhale to come to your standing splits. Keep the hips squared to the mat to the best of your ability. So if your foot doesn't come up as much as you'd think it could, that's okay. You got to work on the hips first. Perfect. Exhale, let the back leg find the mat. Lower onto your knee. And then work your way back. You can shimmy your knee back to come up onto the heel of the front foot and feel a stretch down the back of the front leg. Inhale, bring the hands to the front of the mat and plant them shoulder distance apart. Let the front foot come to the back of the mat. Come back into your Phalakasana plank pose. Exhale through Chaturanga Dandasana and inhale for Cobra or Upward Dog. Exhale to Downward Facing Dog. If at any time you'd like to do your Chaturanga Dandasana on your fingertips, it adds a little extra strength for your wrists. Caroline will show you here if she'd like to. She'll try, she says. So you keep it on the fingertips when you come into Chaturanga and when you come into Cobra, but once you get into Downward Facing Dog, you can place your hands back onto the mat. And you're here for 5 breaths. After every cycle or sequence, it's best to stay in Downward Facing Dog for 5 breaths to reevaluate your foundation, feel your body again, give a little bit of movement. You can pedal your feet back and forth if you'd like to. Inhale, bend the knees. Take a gaze to the front of your mat and hop, step, or float to the front. Inhale for a halfway lift and exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come all the way back up to hands over the head and exhale, Samasthiti. Beautiful. From Tadasana, step your right foot to the back of the mat and then hinge your legs so your feet so they are parallel to the sides of your mat. So you're facing towards there. All right, now lift the tailbone and bend the knees as much as you need to. As you exhale, hinge from the hips to come into your first wide-legged forward fold. Place the hands on the mat in front of you. Use this as traction to pull your crown of your head towards the floor. You lift the tailbone up into the sky, just like in Downward Facing Dog. So bend the knees as much as you need to do so. For every inhale, I want you to lengthen the crown of the head towards the floor. And now every exhale, I want you to try and drive that tailbone up into the sky again. Inhale to lift all the way up. And exhale, place the hands on the hips. Lift the tailbone, bend the knees, and leading with the heart, fold forward. To Parsvrita Padottanasana B. Inhale to rise. This time, interlace the fingers and the hands behind the back. To the best of your abilities, keep the palms pressed together. Lift the tailbone, bend the knees, and hinge from the hips to fold forward. If you bend the knees, you're able to bring your chest a little bit lower and then work your way to straighten your legs. This will help keep the back straight. Inhale to rise up. Unhook the hands and lift the tailbone, bend the knees, and for the last time, hinge forward. This time though, take either your peace fingers and wrap them around your big toes, or take your hands and hook them around the feet from the outside. This is a good way to pull the chest down towards the mat, giving space in the spine. Unhook the toes, and as you inhale, lift up. You're going to do some IT band twists. So you're going to start twisting to the right, and your feet are going to naturally turn. But keep turning to the right, and to the best of your abilities, keep your feet on the floor. You're going to try and keep your hips squared to the mat too, as to the best of your abilities. Your feet will come up, that's okay, but try and keep your toes pointed in the same direction as you keep twisting, keep twisting. When you find your limit and you're not turning your spine, you're not bending your spine to the left or the right, your spine is still straight, then you can start to twist the torso, lift the right arm up over the head. Beautiful. One more inhale and exhale to untwist yourself, and keep twisting into the left direction so you can twist in the other side, to the other side. If any of you have any questions about that, please feel free to contact your mentors. They will be able to guide you physically through this. One more inhale here, and as you exhale, slowly untwist yourself. Inhale to rise up, and as you exhale, windmill your arms forward to the front of your mat, plant them down. Yep. Grab a blue block. Place it between your thighs. We're going to do 5 donkey kicks here. So start in downward facing dog. You might need to step your feet a little bit closer, but really drastically tip the tailbone up into the sky, giving a little bit of a back bend. Have your hands a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. Take your gaze a little bit more forward than your hands. And as you exhale, as you exhale, bend the knees and take some hops. You can feel what it feels like for your body to hop up. Kick your feet up to your bum. Having the block there helps with the alignment. When you're done your 5 donkey kicks, just come sit down in either a child's pose or a hero's pose. We suggest a hero's pose just because you were doing a little bit of an inversion, so bring the blood down. Place your hands on your thighs or at heart center, and close your eyes just for a moment here. Plant the hands at the front of your mat, and as you exhale, push back into downward facing dog. Inhale to bend the knees and take a gaze to the front, and exhale, step, walk, or float to forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale, hands all the way up over the head, and exhale, back down to Samasthiti, heart center. Find your Tadasana. You may find that your Tadasana is getting more strong as you continue during this day. Stronger mountain. It's never a bad thing. Inhale the hands up over the head, and fold forward from the hips as you exhale. Inhale, halfway lift, place the hands on the thighs or the shins. Exhale, plant the hands, step, walk, or float back through your Phalakasana, plank, Chaturanga Dandasana, upward dog or cobra on the inhale, and downward dog for exhale. Inhale, lift the right leg into the sky and plant it at the front of the mat on your exhale. Rotate the back foot and plant it at a 90-degree angle so it's parallel to the back of the mat. Inhale to windmill the arms up over the head, Bringing space in the shoulders. And to warrior two. Your thighs are engaged and you're working towards getting that front thigh parallel to the mat. But your knee is still stacked over the ankle. So if you're working towards parallel to the mat, you just need to step that back foot a little bit farther back. Press into the back blade of the back foot. Hips are squared to the side of your mat. Shoulders are down and away from the ears. And the tailbone is tucked. The fingers are being lengthened to the either side of the room. You're trying to reach the walls, basically. Flip the front hand so the palm faces up. And as you exhale, lift the front hand up over the head. Bring the back hand to either the shin or the thigh, but avoid the knee to all costs to avoid injury. This is a chest opener, so open the chest as much as you'd like to, as much as you can. Inhale back up to warrior two. And as you exhale, hinge forward and place the front arm on the thigh or on the floor or on a block beside your foot. Lift the front arm up and over, and this is a chest opener as well. This is intense side stretch, but you're opening the chest, so don't be afraid to roll the shoulder up and open the chest. One more inhale here. Exhale to settle. Inhale, come all the way up to your warrior two and straighten the front knee. On your next exhale, hinge forward again. And this time, bring the hands so that they are in a vertical line. Your hand can either be on your shin or your thigh, or on a block beside your foot, or on the floor. This is another chest opener, so you don't need to be straight like people say that you're in between two plates of glass. That's not necessarily the case. If you have bigger range with your opening your chest, go ahead and you can break the glass. Inhale to rise back up and bend in the front knee to your warrior two. Windmill the arms forward and plant them at the front of the mat and come into your standing splits again. Square the hips to the front of the mat, and you can bend the standing knee if you need to. Just try your best not to dump into that hip. The standing hip can cause pain and pinching. Inhale the hands up to come into your warrior three pose. Your hands can either be at heart center or they can be at Superman, like lovely Caroline is doing. Exhale, plant the hands down, keep the front knee, the back foot up. And as you exhale, bring the back foot to meet the front foot to a forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step, walk, or float to the back of your mat and follow through your Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale for a cobra or upward dog, and exhale, fold back to downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the left leg into the sky, and as you exhale, plant it at the front of the mat. Plant the back foot at a 90-degree angle, and inhale to windmill the arms up over the head. Come into your warrior two pose. Thigh parallel to the mat for full expression, or just working on keeping the knee over the ankle. The back thigh is engaged. Excuse me. The back foot is being pressed, and the back blade is being pressed into the mat. The shoulders are away from the ears and the tailbone is tucked. The hips are squared to the side of the mat and your fingers are lengthening towards either side of the room. Flip the front hand so the palm faces up. And as you exhale, exalt your warrior pose. Bring the hand up and over the head. Back hand finds either the thigh or the shin. Avoid the knee. Maintain the front bend over the ankle of the knee. Front bend of the knee over the ankle. Inhale back to warrior two. And exhale, hinge forward, place the front arm on the thigh, the floor on a blue block in front of you. Let the front top arm come up and over, and this is a chest stretch again, so lift the chest. Beautiful, Caroline. Inhale to lengthen the fingers towards the ceiling or the back room, depending on where you have it right now. And exhale, open the chest a little bit more. Nice. Inhale to come back up to warrior two. And straighten the front knee. Again, hinge forward like you did before. And this time, place the front hand either on your shin, the thigh, a blue block, or on the floor to come into your triangle pose. Open the chest on the exhale. One more inhale to lengthen the fingers to the ceiling. And as you exhale, plant the hand, come back up, Bend in the front knee to warrior two, and windmill the hands back to the front of the mat, place them on the floor, and lift the back foot up to your standing splits. Hips are squared to the mat, chest is melted towards the standing leg, and your standing knee can be bent if you need to. You can work towards grabbing the ankle with your hands. Inhale, lift the hands up to come to warrior three. Find your balance. If you fall, that's okay. Inhale to lengthen the foot and the crown to either side of the room. And as you exhale, plant the hands to come back into your standing split before you exhale and plant the foot back down to meet the front. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, hands all the way up over the head. And exhale for Samasthiti. Nice. I'm going to come into some standing hand to foot. So find the weight into your left foot. And as you inhale, bend the right knee and bring it into your chest. You can grab your knee with your hands. You can grab a strap at this point, or you can take your peace fingers and wrap them around your big toe. To the best of your abilities, keep your shoulders and your hips squared to the front of your mat. And on your next inhale, lengthen the leg forward to straighten the leg. If you don't come to straight today, that's okay. All that really matters is the alignment of the shoulders and the hips. On your next inhale, let the leg come out to the side. Lift the chest. And exhale, bring it back to the center. Switch the hands, so bring your left hand to the outside blade of the foot and extend the leg out in front of you. Inhale, lift the right hand up, and as you exhale, twist to take your gaze to the back rim. Inhale, bring your hands back to center and grip the foot with the other hand. If your standing leg is super sturdy and straight, you can start to melt the heart forward, bend the elbows and pull your chest forward. Release the foot and then come into your tree pose. So whichever tree you'd like to do, you can either have your foot at the ankle with the toes still on the floor, your foot on the shin or the thigh. But to the best of your ability, keep your foot off of the knee. You can test your inner drishti by closing your eyes here. And when you're ready, you can drop the foot. Bring your weight to the right side of your body, and as you inhale, let the right knee come up into or the left knee, sorry. You can keep your hand here on your knee, or you can take your peace fingers and wrap them around your big toe. Keep your shoulders and your hips squared, and as you inhale, let the leg come straight. Inhale, come to the side. If your leg is straight, that's great. If it's not, that's okay. Just work on the shoulders squared, hips squared. Shoulders are down and away from the ears. Happy smiling face. And exhale, bring it back to center. Take your right hand and place it on the outside of the foot, from the top actually, Caroline. So yeah, there you go. And to straighten the leg, inhale the left hand, arm up and over, and twist as you exhale. Inhale to lengthen the spine, and as you exhale, twist forward, grab the foot with the other hand. And if your standing leg is sturdy and your legs are straight, you can start to melt your heart forward on yourself. And release the foot and find your tree. Avoid the knee. And square the hips to the best of your abilities. Try and push that left knee so that it is in line with your standing leg. You can test your inner drishti by closing your eyes again here. If you fall, you fall. Drop the foot on your exhale. Wiggle your hips around. Give yourself some love there. Inhale the hands up over the head. Exhale, fold forward from the hips. Halfway lift on the inhale with your hands on your shins or your thighs, and plant the hands on the ground as you exhale to step back into your plank. Follow through your Chaturanga Dandasana, and inhale for Cobra or Upward Dog. Exhale, Downward Facing Dog. Inhale, lift the right leg up into the sky, and oh no, wait, sorry, that's a lie. Oh yeah, no, that's right. And step it to the outside of your right foot at the front of your mat. Option to drop the back knee at any time. You can stay here. You can start to work your forearms down to come into your lizard pose. Or you can take your right hand and hook it around your foot, or you can come into a half bind. If you're coming into the bind, to the best of your ability, keep your hips squared to your mat, so you're not contorting your body at all. This isn't about the chest, this is about the hips. So you feel it in the hips here. The back thigh, if the knee is off the floor, the back thigh is being pressed up into the ceiling. Plant the hands on the ground and either follow through a vinyasa or press back into Downward Facing Dog. Right away, inhale and lift the left leg up into the sky and plant it on the outside of the left foot. Option to drop the knee again. Take your time here to work your way down onto your forearms or into a half or full bind. Square the hips to the mat. And like a lizard, take your gaze a little bit farther from your mat. Your lizard looks to where it's going, not where it is. It's trying to grab a little fly at the front of the mat. Eat it. Plant the hands on the mat and step the front foot to meet at the front of the mat, wider than hip distance apart. Toes are pointed outwards, and we're going to come into a Malasana squat. The arms are pressing into the thighs so that the knees come wide. If your heels are not on the floor, that's okay. You can place the blue block underneath of your seat bones if you need some support. Otherwise, keep the chest up, lengthen the spine. Beautiful. Plant the hands on the ground, about shoulder width apart, and walk your feet in a little bit more so that your heels come off the floor. Now you're on your tippy toes, and work your knees into your elbows, as close into the elbows as you can, and slowly keep your gaze a little farther away from your hands to work. Maybe your toes come off the floor, maybe they don't. This is about balance, not strength. So don't attach yourself to that you're not strong enough to do this. A couple more breaths. When you're done, you can either place your feet down and come into your plank, or you can push back into plank, float back into plank. Inhale for a cobra or upward dog, and exhale to downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the right leg into the sky and place it at the front of your mat. Drop the back knee and straighten the front leg and come up onto the heel. We're going to do a front split again. So depending on your front split, you can have your back knee up or back knee down. Just working towards lowering. So from the difference between the half front splits and this is that there's more space between the knees, the knee and the front foot. So you're working that back knee back a little bit more than you would in the first standing split, front splits. Slowly start to work your knee up to come back out of this. And lift the front leg up, so plant the hands at the front of the mat, and then lift the front leg back to come into three-legged downward dog. Exhale, bring the foot back in front of you and place it to be shin parallel to the mat. So your right foot will be right behind your left hand and working towards Ekapada Rajakopatasana, your one-leg king pigeon. Yeah, so you just stay there. For the first little while, just stay here. You don't need to work on bringing the back foot up at all. You can just stay here. If you'd like to work on the thigh stretch, you can start to bend the back leg, bring the back foot up, and work the left arm back to grab that foot. And stay here. If you can't grab that foot with your hand, you can use a strap. But keep an eye out on your thighs so you're not dumping it onto any of your thighs. You have equal engagement. You're lifting the tailbone and the pelvis up off the floor. Beautiful. Exhale, release the foot, plant the hand hands on the mat, tuck the back toes and press back into three-legged downward facing dog. You can move the hip around here a little bit before placing the foot down to downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the left leg up into the sky. And exhale, place it at the front of your mat to come into your forward splits, your front splits. So work the back knee back a little bit, straighten the front knee, and working your pelvis towards the floor. Nice. You can stay here as long as you'd like. Feel that nice stretching. Make sure you keep your hands on the floor for now, unless you have full engagement in your thighs and you're not dumping onto the left or the right. Slowly start to work your knee back up. Be mindful of your knees. So if you need some any cushion, go ahead. And plant the hands at the front of your mat on either side of your foot. Tuck the back toes and press back into three-legged downward dog. As you exhale, bring the foot forward and place the foot behind the right wrist and have the foot parallel, the leg parallel to the mat, thigh parallel, the shin, wow, body parts. Work the hips down, keep the thighs both engaged so the pelvis is moving its way down to the floor. If you can't get it all the way down, have them lifted. If you need to use a blue block to be underneath one of your thighs so you don't dump on top of it, go ahead. Otherwise, you can start to bend the back knee. And to the best of your abilities, you can grab the knee, the ankle with your hand or with a strap. As you can see that Caroline has space underneath her thighs there. She's not rolling over onto her front thigh or her back thigh. Exhale, release the hands and plant the hands at the front of your mat. Tuck the back toes and press back into three-legged downward dog. Exhale, bring your foot down to downward facing dog. Wiggle your hips around. And bend the knees, take a gaze to the front of your mat, and float to a seated position. Lower onto your back, and bend the knees and plant the feet on the ground. Lift the right leg up into the sky, and then place the ankle onto the knee. Press the right knee away from you, and interlace the hands and place them on either underneath the left thigh or the left shin. Keep the tailbone glued to the floor and press your right knee away from you as you pull your left knee towards you. Shoulders are also glued to the floor. Release the hands on your exhale. And release the foot. You can hug the knees into your chest if you'd like to. Otherwise, let the left leg come up and over and place the left heel onto your knee. Interlace the hands underneath your right thigh or shin. And pull your thigh towards you while pushing your left knee away from you. Tailbone glued to the floor to the best of your abilities. It actually increases this stretch. If you have trouble keeping your tailbone to the ground, we can do a tutorial for thread the needle up against the wall. One more breath in here, and as you exhale, release the hands. Plant the feet on the ground and lift up to a seated position. And come into a boat. So, have the feet hip distance apart, the arms are about shoulder distance apart, right behind you on the floor. Option to stay here, but bring your knees in a little bit closer. Lift the chest and come up onto the seat bones versus the tailbone. Option to stay here or to slowly work your way to lifting your feet. Your shins can be parallel to the ground, or you can work your legs to straight. Lift the chest. Hands can always stay on the floor, or they can lift. You can place them on underneath your thighs and use them as a good way to keep the chest up and keep yourself off of your tailbone. And release as you exhale. Cross the ankles, bend the knees and cross the ankles. And as you inhale, lift yourself off the floor. You can keep your feet on the ground. If you don't have much arm distance to lift yourself, you can use blue blocks. You can take the blue blocks and place them underneath of your hands and lift yourself up. I can show you that a different time. Come into boat for a second time. So wherever you were before, you can return there, or you can maybe push yourself to lift the legs up off the floor, or straighten the legs, or lift the hands. Exhale, release, and cross the ankles the opposite way that you did before to press up slow. Maybe you keep the ankles on the floor this time. Maybe you lift the ankles up. Exhale, release, and come into your third boat. Again, return where you were before, but don't be afraid to explore beyond that. Lift the legs. Your legs don't need to be completely straight up. They could be nearly parallel to the floor. If you shake, that's okay. That means you're working hard. Exhale, release. Cross the ankles for one last press up. And let the bum find the floor. And press the palms of the feet together with your knees out wide. Palms of your feet together. Knees out wide. You can stay here, or you can start melting your heart forward. Give a nice forward fold in your butterfly legs, your Baddha Konasana. Plant the hands at the front of your mat and roll up onto the blades of your feet, and then either walk, step, or float to a plank position. Inhale here, and as you exhale, lower down halfway or all the way. Inhale for a cobra or upward dog, and exhale to downward facing dog. Lift the right leg up into the sky. And as you exhale, bring the knee to the right forearm. Inhale, back up. Exhale, right knee to left forearm. Inhale, back up. Exhale, plant the foot back down to downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the left leg up into the sky this time. And as you exhale, bring the left knee to the left forearm. Inhale, back up. And exhale, left knee to right forearm. Inhale, back up to three-legged downward dog. Move it around if you need to, the left leg. And exhale, back to downward facing dog. Inhale, come back to Chaturanga, back to Phalakasana. And as you exhale, lower all the way down through Chaturanga, down onto your belly. Untuck the toes. And come up onto the forearms with your elbows underneath of your shoulders into your Sphinx position. Rotate the right arm to be at a 45-degree angle and bend the left knee so that the foot comes into the seat bones. Extend the left arm out in front of you and circle it behind to grab the left foot. Option to stay here or to make your right arm straight. Keep your shoulders squared to the front of your mat. Give a little bit of a micro bend in that elbow, Caroline, because you have hyperextension. And press the right shoulder back and the left shoulder forward. Inhale one more time. And exhale, lower all the way down. Let your hips feel some love. Wiggle them back and forth. And we'll do the other side. So come back up onto your elbows, underneath of your shoulders. And this time, bend the left arm at a 45-degree angle and bend the right knee into your butt. Extend the right arm out in front of you and circle it back to grab the ankle. You can stay here or you can change the hand position to be a little bit more of a stretch in the chest. Press the right shoulder forward and left shoulder back as you lift and straighten the front arm. Exhale, release down. Find some love by wiggling your hips back and forth. On your next inhale, we're going to come up into a Cobra Bhujangasana for 5 breaths. So not using any of your arm muscles, it would be actually a good idea to zip the legs up and tent the fingers and bring the arms out wide. Yeah, nice. And as you inhale, lift the chest up to your Cobra for 5 breaths. Every breath is a movement. So as you inhale, lengthen the chest up. And as you exhale, you can lift the chest a little bit higher. One more inhale. And as you exhale, lower down onto the ground. Wiggle the hips around and interlace the hands behind your back. Palms pressed together. Elbows can be either straight or bent. As you inhale, lift the chest and draw the hands towards the feet to come into a gentle locust. Inhale to lengthen the spine and the crown of the head. And exhale, release down. You can let your hands come apart. Again, interlace the hands behind the back, but this time interlace them the opposite way that you did before. Again, hands pressed towards each other, zipped tight, and the elbows are straight or bent, whichever serves you today. On your inhale, lengthen the spine and lift the chest, and let the hands draw towards the feet. If at any time you'd like to lift your feet to come into a full locust, please do so, just for fun. And release on the exhale. This time, bend both of your knees into your butt And grab each ankle with your either hand. I always see that, just your butt. All right, on your inhale, kick the feet back to lift the chest. Kick the feet back towards the back of the room helps with this pose, but try and keep the thighs close together. Nice, Caroline. Inhale here, and as you exhale, release the feet and let yourself come down slowly. Give yourself any love that you need. Wiggle the hips back and forth. I'm going to do that one more time. So bend the knees, grab each ankle with either hand, keep the thighs together to the best of your ability, and as you inhale, kick the feet back, lift the chest. Shoulders are away from the ears. And exhale, release. Let the feet fall down to the ground, wiggle your hips back and forth. And plant the hands underneath of your shoulders, and on the inhale, lift up for a cobra. And exhale for a downward facing dog. Take your gaze to the front of your mat, and as you exhale, hop to a seated position and lower onto your back. Feet are hip distance apart, so a little closer together, Caroline. And at this point, if you are still new to your bridge, grab a blue block and place it between your thighs. This will help you keep an engagement in the knees, and so you're not the thighs, so you're not a little too far apart and actually harming your knees. So on your inhale, lift the chest, and the chest comes up first, and the hips will follow. Once you get to your edge, poke your bum to make sure that your glutes aren't engaged. If they're soft, that's good. Exhale, release down. I'm going to do that again. So as you inhale, lift the chest up into the sky. And once you get to your edge, you have an option to interlace your hands underneath of your body and walk your shoulders down towards your heels. One more inhale here to lift the chest a little bit higher, and exhale to release all the way down. You can remove the block. Now, the sequence calls for 3 wheels now, but if wheel is new in your practice, please proceed with doing some more bridges with wheel arms if you'd like. So you can take your hands to either side. Maybe Caroline will show them how to do that first before we come into wheel. So have hands on either side of the ear, fingers pointing down, and as you inhale, lift the chest and let the hips follow to come into your bridge with wheel hands. This is a good way to prep to come into wheel. Exhale, release down. This time Caroline's going to come into her wheel. So inhale to lift the chest. And as she lifts the chest, she can use her hands to lift her head up and then place the crown of the head on the floor. Before that, she can readjust. After that, she can readjust her hands, keep her elbows tucked in to the best of her ability, and inhale to rise the chest up, leading with the chest. Thighs are still tucked together. And if you're done, you can tuck your chin into your chest and come onto your shoulders before the head. Very important. Come onto their shoulders before you come onto your head when you're coming down from wheel. You can do that one more time. So on the inhale, lift the chest and let the crown of the head find the floor. Readjust your hands once you arrive here. And inhale, lift the chest, come up into your wheel. That's okay. You can stay here. This is totally okay. This is your wheel as well. And when you're ready, exhale all the way down. Let the feet come out straight. You can hug your knees into your chest if you like to here. And roll back and forth and forward and back until you find yourself in a seated position. with your legs straight out in front of you. Feet engaged, your feet are flexed. Move the junk from your trunk, favorite saying of mine. Inhale to lift the chest, and as you exhale, let the chest and the heart melt forward over your knees. You can bend your knees as much as you need to. It helps a lot if you bend your knees and glue your chest to your knees and then walk your hips back. Nice. And just let yourself melt your head forward here. Once you get to this, you can let your head hang. And stay here for a minimum of 10 breaths. You just did a bunch of back bends, so you need to give your spine some extra love in your forward folds. Inhale to slowly work your way back up to a seated position if you're done your 10 breaths. And plant your hands just behind your hips. And as you inhale, lift the hips up into the sky to come into a reverse plank for 5 breaths. So if you have pain in your wrists, maybe try and come down onto your forearms, onto your elbows, so that you have less pressure on your wrists. You're still going to get the same benefits just as much as you would on your hands. Exhale, release, and come back up to seated. And bend the right leg and place the foot on the inside of the left thigh. Square the hips and move any flesh from your seat bones. And as you exhale, melt the heart forward over your straight leg. Inhale to rise. And switch the switch the foot to the outside of the left thigh. Any flesh that's moved underneath the seat bones can be removed. And as you inhale, lift the chest before you exhale and twist towards the right. Every inhale, you lengthen the crown of the head towards the ceiling, and every exhale, you can try and twist yourself as long as you have no pain and both of your hips are on the floor. One more inhale here. And exhale to untwist yourself and counter twist in the opposite direction just for a brief moment before finding yourself back into center. Take your left leg and place it on the inside of the right thigh. Move the flesh away from the seat bones, and as you exhale, melt the heart forward. If at any time you feel like you need a little extra time in your twists or your forward folds, by all means, push pause on this video and then restart it when you're done. Inhale to rise all the way up, and place the left foot on the outside of the right thigh. This foot can be right up against your hips, or you can be down towards the shin. It doesn't really matter as long as you feel a stretch in the twist. Inhale, lift the chest up towards the ceiling, and exhale, twist towards the left. The elbow can hook around the outside of the thigh, or you can grab your thigh with your arm, whichever you'd like to do. One more inhale to lengthen the crown to the ceiling, and one more exhale to twist a little deeper. On your next exhale, untwist yourself and twist in the other direction for a brief moment. Great. Now bring yourself back to center. Take the palms of the feet to touch and the knees to fall out wide. You can wave your wings a little bit if you want to, your butterfly wings. And then when you're ready, lower down onto the ground. We're going to do some supine twists. So whichever supine twist you'd like to do, you can either do with one leg or you can do it with both legs. So if you're doing it with one knee, hug in your right knee like Caroline is doing, and as you exhale, let your knee fall to the left. If you're doing it with both knees, hug both knees into your chest and let both of your knees fall to the left. You might need to move your pelvis to the right a little bit by placing both of your feet on the floor and lifting your pelvis up and then moving it to the right. But you can figure that out. It feels weird if you're not doing your pelvis tilt. So just feel what it feels like for your supine twists. As long as your shoulders are both glued on the floor, you can do whatever you'd like. Inhale, bring your knees to the center and hug them both into your chest. If you did both knees to the left, let both of your knees fall to the right. Otherwise, switch the legs, having your left knee into your chest and let the left knee fall to the right, both shoulders on the floor. You can take a blue block and place it underneath of your floating knee too if you need some support. It's down more. There you go. And as you inhale, bring your knees back into center, hug them into your chest. And at this time, I invite you to come into a shoulder stand. If shoulder stand isn't in your practice, you can either go into legs up the wall or supported legs up the wall with a blue block underneath of your tailbone with your legs straight up. I think Caroline's going to show you how to do legs up the wall with a support. Otherwise, if you're going to come into a shoulder stand, I want you to be very crucial about the weight distribution. The weight is all into your elbows, not in your shoulders. Caroline will show you that. Great. So let your knees come up to your chest and your hips come up off the floor. And then take your hands and find the small of your back. Find all the weight in your elbows and slowly work your legs towards straight. Kick your feet up towards the ceiling. No weight should be in the shoulders, so your neck should be free and clear. You can stay here for as long as 10 breaths as you like. Otherwise, let the legs fall down back behind to find your plow pose. You can stay here for 10 breaths as well. Otherwise, you can come back and let your spine slowly find the mat, one vertebra at a time. Once your legs are straight on the floor in front of you, I'd love it if you could lift up onto your elbows. And you might need to work your elbows back a little bit so that you can find the crown of your head on the mat. Let's come into your fish position. When you're ready, exhale and release your elbows. Let your head come onto the mat to find your final posture, your corpse pose, your Shavasana. You can be here for a minimum of 5 minutes. Congratulations for starting your second week of the 40-day challenge. Hopefully your body is still feeling great and you're loving every minute of this. We suggest you stay here for a minimum of 5 minutes, and then you can have minimum of 5 or as long as you'd like to of silent meditation, whichever suits you. But please honor your body and do whatever suits you today. And as always, thank you for practicing with us. Namaste.